So good evening. My name is Ruth Molina, and today we're going to be presenting on practice-based coaching. I have been in the field of early childhood education for over 25 years. Go ahead, Guadalupe.
Oh, okay. My name is Guadalupe Lopez. I have been on the field of child development for maybe 30 years already, and this is my third month of working in this position that I'm now at the program that I'm working right now. So welcome.
What do we hear when we hear the word coaching? We could hear help, training, goals, support, mentor, education, skills. Many staff many staff start to murmur when they hear the word coaching. Staff usually say, we don't have enough hours in the day and they are adding more work. When am I going to have the time for this? But some want the coaching because they need an extra support. I think all of us have had employees that felt some kind of way. I know I did. But when we are exposed and things start to shift, that's when the reward comes. We see the changes happening with ourselves, and at the end, we see the overall success in the classroom. Staff that started with a negative notion towards coaching have come to us and told us their success and how it impacted them in their professional growth as well as the children.
Ruth, I just see the practice-based coaching first page. I don't see the slide that you are on.
That's next. Practice-based, yes. Go ahead.
I don't see it.
What are you seeing now?
I see the practice-based coaching, the introduction, just the first presented by our names.
Okay, let me exit this.
You should be able to just click the arrow and it should go to the next slide.
I did click the next arrow.
Or your center button or your space bar maybe, or click the screen.
Okay. I am clicking this.
Maybe try stop sharing and then reshare and see if that.
Let me do that because we were already. Okay. Let me share again. Share. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah,
oh, there you go. Yeah,
that was the slide that you just did. Go to the next one.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so now I'm going to talk about what is practice-based coaching and what Head Start provides professional development. So Head Start has a long tradition of providing professional development to support teachers as they implement effective practices that lead to positive outcome for children. Coaching is one form of professional development that has shown promise for supporting education staff as they implement effective teaching and home visiting practices. This model has both a research-based and experience-based. Practice-based coaching is a cyclical process for supporting the use of effective practice for positive outcome for children and families. And this is the practice-based coaching that we in our program are using right now. So as we go to the slides, we're gonna, we're gonna show you what is the process of that. Next slide.
How does PBC support child learning? Well, quality coaching. Coaches use research-based strategies to support adult learning and professional development. Then we go into quality teaching. Teachers and staff use effective curricula and research-based teaching practices. From there, we go to the quality learning, which children learn important skills and are ready for kindergarten.
So what is the cyclical nature of practice-based coaching? Practice-based coaching is a clinical process for supporting teachers' use of effective teaching practices, as I said before, that lead to positive outcome for children. That's what we want our children to, the teachers to be able to teach and have the strategies that they need to teach whatever the children's need. So the coaching cycle components are planning goals and action steps. Number 2, engaging in focus observation. Number 3, reflecting on and sharing feedback about teaching practices. Practice-based coaching occurs within the context of collaborative partnership, and it refers to the working interaction between the coach and the teacher that provides a safe space for teacher to ask questions, discuss problems, get support, gather feedback, reflect on practices, and try new ideas. So each component of the cycle is designed to inform the action taken by that coach or the teacher throughout the coaching process. The cyclical nature of practice-based coaching emphasizes the expectation, understanding, and desired outcomes of coaching are regularly reviewed and updated. Coaching is neither evaluative or judgmental. It is supportive ways to help adults professionally. So how each component of practice-based coaching implemented? Each component of PBS model is described as on the following table. So we say we have 3 components. Okay, one component is share goals and action plan, like I said before. The coach we assess the needs of the teacher. We set goals for coaching, create an action plan to guide the coaching, review and update the goals and the action plan through coaching partnership. And then the next component is the focus observations. That's where we go and observe the, whatever the classroom where the teacher is teaching, and we gather information through observation. We can record that information, that the observation with, the iPads or any recording device that we might have. Use support strategies to learn more about the practices or to improve, refine effective practices. Coach models or prompts. So, and then the third component is reflecting on the sharing feedback about teaching practices. So we discuss and reflect on observation and progress. So we meet and share and consider feedback. We use support strategies to learn more about the practice or to improve or refine effective practices. So this is more problem solving conversation, creating, and creating materials. What do we need to, what do we need to accomplish the goal that we establish on the shared goals and action planning?
Using coaching as a bridge. Why use coaching as a bridge? You start with the staff's already known skills. Then you stretch those skills by coaching them. And with the coaching, with the coaching comes success. At this point, the staff has crossed that bridge. In order for us to cross the bridge, we have to be in sync, and it can't be done if the staff is not on board. Now, in saying that, there are 3 options employees have to cross that bridge.
So now we're going to go into the options for delivering the practice-based coaching. So we have formats that we can use, like formats can be on site, on distance. So, about 2 years ago, we were only coaching on site. But due to the pandemic, we had to learn how to coach at a distance. And we use the distance to coach by using on Zoom or on Teams. It has not been an easy task, but we have continued to make efforts in supporting our teaching staff. On site, now we're doing it on site. This is the way it looks, and this is the way it looked at distance. At distance, our teaching staff had to record themselves via Zoom or Teams in case they will have been resourceful to have that contact with our families and children. Practice-based coaches can be implemented in different delivery formats, as you see on the graphing here. So we have the expert, the peer, and self. So for the expert on site, the expert comes into the learning environment to observe the activity. The expert or the coach meets with education staff to provide feedback on effective practices. The expert or the education staff meet and work in a group with facilitator coach to discuss the practice. So actually right now in our program, this is what we are doing. We're using the expert as a coach. So for peer-to-peer, comes into the learning environment to watch the activity. Peer meets with reflect. This is, teacher to teacher, it can be teacher to teacher. So teacher meet to reflect on observations and provide feedback to each other. The peer or the teacher to teacher review a video that the other peer has posted on the discussion board. That's doing this, on distance, that's where peer review and video that others peer has posted to discuss the board. So on site, we go to the site, and on video, we use, we record and then we send the videos to either to the expert, which is the coach, or either to the peer-to-peer. And self, we also have self, and education staff uses self-guided material to instruct on observation of his or her teaching practices, including videotaping while teaching. This is a format on site. So now when they do a distance, that education staff uses online tutorials to plan an activity to videotape. So they do videotape. We also send videos to the teachers through my Teachstone, so they can get ideas and they can improve their teaching strategies. So as distance education staff record experiences using structured online self-coaching tools, like we say, we have our Teachstone as a form of a platform, so they can see videos, and also they can video themselves and they can see themselves. And then also we send the expert also to help the self deliver option for that. So next slide.
How does the coaching cycle continue? The coaching cycle continues for ongoing goal setting and action planning. The existing goals and action plans are reviewed and updated. Updating the goals and action plans might include continuing with the same goals and revising the action plan, revising the selected goals and updating the action plan, or identifying new goals and creating a new action plan. At some point during the ongoing process, the original needs assessment might be reviewed or updated to determine new priorities. PBS gives us top 10 tips for coaches. Number one is, number one is build a relationship. It will be time well spent. A trusting, supportive relationship will be key to the success of coaching. Take time to get to know the coachee and their learning environment. This will make your coaching more relevant and more salient for the coachee. Be willing to pitch in and be an extra set of hands when needed. Coaching is a partnership, and the more you know and understand the learning environment, the more you can support the coachee. And all this contributes to building the supportive relationship that will be the context of your coaching. Share success and build on the positive. We all like to feel encouraged. Notice what is going well, comment on it, and then build on it. Using strengths-based approach to coaching prevents coachees from feeling their coach is going to fix them. Instead, the goal is to work together to become more fluent in existing practices and learn new skills. Number 3, map it out. Use an action plan as a roadmap for your coaching journey. Work with the coachee to create an action plan to help guide your coaching. What practices will he or she like to work on first? What steps are needed to put the targeted practice into place? Breaking new practices into smaller steps can make the process of change less overwhelming. Number 4, provide supports, give materials and ideas to support coaching needs. Sometimes offering a material such rules, posters, or sample questions to ask a caregiver at a coaching meeting is the jump start for getting a good strategy in place. Be sure to model what to do with the material you provided, or it may end up in a drawer instead of being used. Avoid providing too many materials or ideas at one time so the coachee can focus on what is most important to implement. Number 5, be transparent. Highlight coaching as part of professional development right from the start. It is important that coachees are prepared for coaching. Everyone involved should know the expectations and goals of coaching before coaching begins. If coaching follows a training or workshop, discuss how the content delivered might become the focus of action plan goals. Present coaching as the bridge between hearing about new practices and implementing them with children and families. Number 6, be prepared. Keep some helpful phrases handy. Bring a coach can leave you at a loss for words at times. Having a few key phrases handy can really help when you are not sure what to say next. Some tried and true favorites include, let's just give it a try. Tell me more about. What can we do to make this practice easier to implement? How do you think the activity went today? And what have you tried so far? Number 7, anchor it. Use data to anchor your observation and feedback. Using data is a way to be objective when providing feedback. You can use assessments that your program is already using, such as class, hovers, eckers, eaters, and fakers, or consider collecting data on a specific behavior, such as a child engagement or parents' positive comments to the child. Having something to base your coaching on gives you focus and makes feedback more objective and meaningful. Regardless of your tool, using the data to provide some concrete evidence of progress can be very rewarding. It makes some getting used to, but data can be very powerful, and many times coaches start asking to see more. 8, be patient. Change takes time. When the goal of coaching is changing coaches' behaviors, it takes time. In order for meaningful change to occur and maintain, ample time is needed not just to learn a new skill, but to practice using it. Some behaviors are easier than others to change. Depending on the coachee's beliefs or years of experience, some practices may take a greater time commitment from both the coach and the coachee. Number 9, find the right it. Just like working with children and families, coaching isn't a cookie cutter. Know that the strategies you use, approaches you take, and the relationships you build will vary depending on the personalities involved, skills you are building, and the needs of the learning environment. For example, you may have one coachee who wants to coach to mostly observe and offer suggestions, while another wants you to the coach to do more modeling and demonstration. However, you support each coachee will depend on their skills, their needs, and their preferences. This is what makes coaching difficult, but also makes it exciting. Number 10, connect with a community of coachees, share successes and challenges, network with other coaches to get support along the way. Being able to share coaching highs and work through coaching lows is crucial. Whatever is bouncing ideas of each other, sharing materials, or other helping work through an issue, coaches can learn a lot from each other.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk, how do we implement our coaching plan in our program? After we give you an overview of what is PBS or practice-based coaching as an overview, and you know that Head Start is the, it's for Head Start. I mean, all Head Start, according to the performance standard, we have to have a coaching program in our program to help our teachers, improve the teaching practices. So in our program, how do we start to do this? We have trying to start many years ago, but due to the short staff, and I'm guessing, if you are on child development, you know that there is a shortage of staff. So we hire coaches, and we call them master teachers. That's what we call them. We call them master teachers. So since we don't have enough teaching staff that to go in the classroom, so sometimes we use them, and then we start the practice coaching, and then we stop. But this year we are implementing this no matter what. So what we do, the program here has put in a coaching plan. And that coaching plan includes develop a comprehensive coaching model that will ensure the staff to have the basic understanding of all areas of child development. So our coaches in here, they go to intensive training before they start coaching. So sometimes they takes like a month and a half, and they go from training from classroom assessment score systems, class strategies on how to help the teachers in the classroom to better prepare the lesson plans. So they go to intensive the PBS coaching model too. They go to all the trainings that they have, and they also we also align this coaching system with the performance standards, which is practice-based coaching. So we also, our goal is for our coaches in here, is for the teachers to increase their self-efficacy and implementing teaching practices that create and impact stimulating and foundational learning experiences to children. So how do we align this to the performance standards? So we go to the performance standards, and then we look and see what the performance standard says about coaching. So from there, we put a procedure that that I'm going to tell you a little bit of what it says in here. We'll ensure that teachers and staff are provided with the tools, training, and support to continue ongoing quality services for children. That is the rationale. So what we would do is we implement effective, nurturing, and responsive teaching practices. We focus on promoting growth and development, progression describing to Head Start, Early Head Start, and the outcome framework from ages 0 to 5, because our program is 0 to 5. And we align them with the framework from the Office of Head Start too. And then also we align it with our curriculum, which is created curriculum that we're using here. And we integrate our assessment system. Also, we train our coaches too on the DRDP, which is decided developmental results. So that's our assessment over here in California. And then also we develop, and we also go to intensive training on adult learning too. We train our coaches on that too. And we implement, they go to intensive curriculum training too. So in our procedure is to hire coaches. We need some, we still need some. We just have 2 for the whole program that we are working very, very hard. So they can start a coaching system. And then we utilize, like I said before, we utilize our My Teach-Tone platform to guide coaches to see the efforts that they have. They go in there, they assign videos to the teachers so they can see. So when they come back, they discuss those videos too. They do observations in the classroom too. They go and observe. Right now, after the pandemic is, the cases have been eased down a little bit. So we go more in the classroom, then we do distance, and we're going to continue doing Zoom, but we're going to do in both. We're going to do Zoom, and we're going to do, we're going to use Zoom, and then we're going to use the classroom observations too. And then we conduct class observations too. We utilize, like Ruth said before, we utilize acres and the eaters and the scores of that, so we can help the teachers and we can see where they are too. And we also monitor the curriculum fidelity for created curriculum. So then we ensure that the following things that are happening too, that they have at least 15 hours of clock hours of professional development per year, our teachers in here. We handle, we gave trainings on mandatory reporting, curriculum, dual language learners, challenging behavior, on transition, individualizations, individual development plan for the children, all that. It's part of the pre-service trainings for the teachers and the coaches too. So, and then we put a plan or a training plan that we put for professional development, in which, the coaches are meeting with the coach sheet to see where are they at on strategies, what do they need? What do they need to be more successful and to provide better outcomes for the children? And then they create a plan. So our coaches are very familiar with practice-based coaching. And one model that I didn't talk about is PLC, meaning that it is a group strategies that we use to. So when we don't have the one-to-one or the peer-to-peer, we just use a group coaching model. Coaches, so they train annually for that. And then, we start our coaching system. So then we use internal coaching that every year we analyze the level of knowledge that the teachers have. And based on the level of they have, that's when we start the coaching for them. Then we start setting goals. The coaches set goals. So the education leadership will conduct a survey. So that's a survey that we conduct every year to see what format or what component is best for the teacher. And then, then we, if let's say that, I don't know if you are familiar with classroom assessment scoring system, that is CLASS. Some of us that are on early childhood, we use this, or Head Start use this tool to measure the teacher-child interaction. And there is a scoring system that they go. So when they come and they do that, when we come in the classroom and we use the tool, the CLASS tool, and the teachers score below the national average, then we make it kind of mandatory for them to get into the coaching system, because that's part of our professional development and part of our plan to enhance, the teaching strategies for the teachers. So we use the scoring for that class, and then we start the coaching from them, those that they score low. And then the coaches will utilize multiple assessment tools to identify the individual coaches for professional development needs. I talk about that. So they do, we do the individual needs assessment, then we do the classroom observation, then we do the class, and then we compile all those things, and then we identify how we're gonna go and move forward with the goals for that teacher. But also that we trying to do it voluntarily. We don't try to force them to, to get into the coaching system, because sometimes when we force the teachers, they're going to be reluctant and they won't be able to be successful. So it needs to be like more, we try very hard to, to get them engaged in the coaching system, but if they don't want, or they decided to do the self format, then they can do that. But then it's still, we're going to monitor that with the coaching system, or the supervisor, the site supervisor will follow up on that, where the teacher who decided to use the self format is on it. So so that's how we do our coaching planning here at in our program. And hopefully, if you have any questions at the end, we can answer those questions if, about how do we do our coaching, how do we implement our coaching in our program. So.
Thank you, Guadalupe. These are our resources. We get our PVC and all the documents, we get them from eClick. So these are our resources for you to see. And that's the end of our presentation. So any questions?
So
Feel
we
free
have,
to unmute yourself and come on camera and ask your questions or write them in the chat.
okay, so it says, okay, one question, it says, how did the teachers like the distance versus the in-person? So it was very difficult to work virtually. I gotta say that it was a little bit very difficult to do that. I think that the teachers were anxious to come back in the classroom. As I know, because I was a supervisor before I could become a coordinator. So I was supervising the virtual classes that we were doing. And you know what, they will say, okay, I'd rather be in the classroom. I'd rather see the coach face to face, just meeting on Zoom, it's a little difficult. And then some of them, they have, a little bit of technology issues too. So they didn't feel very comfortable with that. So I think they like more person to person or face to face than virtual. I gotta say that. So thank you for the question. Any more questions? Any comments?
None?
I have another question.
Okay.
Sure.
So towards the end of your presentation, you mentioned that, for teachers that might need more support, you do more coaching, but do you engage with master teachers as well, just for their own continued professional development? And does that look different, or because resources are spread thin, you sort of have to concentrate?
Okay, so I know because I supervise, Ruth doesn't supervise any master, we call it master teachers over here. So I supervise a master teacher, and the reason that we decided to use PBS is because I need to be more familiar with it. I wanted to know more about it, even though I have trainings before. It's not the same when we are supervising a master teacher or a coach. That is a little different than supervising teachers. Teachers, I was the coach for the teachers, as a site supervisors. Now I am the coach for the master teacher. And yes, the responsibility is a little bit more to give them more professional development. We meet like twice a month right now because we are starting again. We started the coaching system again. So I have a new master teacher, a new coach. So she went to intensive training right now. And now when she finished that intensive training, she's going back in the class, she's going to do her observations. She's going to do all that. But then it's my responsibility to provide professional development for her, which we do meeting on, I check in with her like on a phone conversation, or I go where she is at, and then I go there and I show myself and I ask her, what do you need? Do you need something else? What questions do you have? Because everything is new for her. So I'm here, and as she learns, I'm learning too. So, but we have that conversation, and we meet twice a month to just to debrief or to give her feedback, or for her to ask me questions or to ask us questions about whatever she needs. So yeah, it's a lot of support.
And they also have, because I had a master teacher, and they also have that support with each other. So they have their own network. So they talk, they have their own network, so they network with each other. So in case that those, there's kind of a still in communication, they go to each other for networking and getting resources from each other. So that's the beauty of it, because they report to us, then we have meetings with them, we continue to coach them, we give them opportunities to grow. We've lost coaches, we lost our master teachers, which are our coaches, do that, they went up the ladder. Some of them became supervisors. So now that's why we're struggling with our coaches right now, because some of them have moved up the ladder and some of them have left our agency. But yes, they do have those resources where they gravitate towards each other. and that's their support group, right? Which is great. But we do keep in contact with them, and we also make sure that communication is ongoing, because we have to make sure that they're following through on their workload. So that's a constant communication with them. And you're welcome. Any other questions?
We have 5 minutes.
I think that all of us have gotten hit in our education field with teachers. We're suffering a lot in regards to that component. So we're lucky that we still have 2 master teachers, which are our coaches. And, you know, we're gravitating towards hiring more, but it's very hard right now because we are challenged in regards to everybody needs them. And so that's the challenge that we're having right now. But the professional the professional growth continues for our master teachers, for ourselves, and for our teaching staff, and for our supervisors. Right now, our supervisors are going into a leadership training for 3 to 4 days, because that professional growth needs to continue ongoing. So the same thing happens to our master teachers. That professional growth continues, and we send them to different trainings for their leadership skills to also grow. Okay. I think that's it.
Well, yes. I just want to thank you for your time too, for your time, the time that you have spent with us. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to see your presentations too.
Yes.
And hopefully you learned something from here. I know it was kind of going, we were the first one. It's kind of going a little bit fast, but we just try to put whatever on this presentation, we just try to put whatever it was necessary, not to put so much of any other things, because this is the basic of PBS. This is, if you want to put your coaching and you want to use this model, it's very easy. It's very self-explanatory. It's easy to follow, and it's only, it's good. Any more questions?
Okay, thank you. And I guess we'll be joining the group.